Alright, let's make a video about battle styles. Hey guys, it's me, Checkered, back with the new video. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 25 cards from the Pokemon TCG Battle Styles expansion coming out mid-March. Yeah, let's get into it. Coming in at number 25, we have Meowstic. Meowstic's a stage 1 psychic Pokemon with a very interesting ability. Ability Ear Movement, which allows it to move one damage counter from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon once during your turn. Meaning if you have a Chomp or something that gets a benefit from your opponent's Pokemon being damaged, you can do that easily, as well as heal your own Pokemon. The immediate synergies I see with this guy, Chomp and stuff like Houndoom that damages your own Pokemon. It's a quick little heal, it adds teensy bits of damage, which add up very quickly. Especially when you're playing with single strike-esque Pokemon that deal a lot of damage and need just a teensy bit left to finish your opponent's Pokemon off. Next up, in spot number 24, we have Durant. Durant's coming back with a fan favorite attack of Devour. For those of you that don't know, Devour is an attack that for each Durant you have in play, you discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Devour used to be a very popular deck and expanded as well as standard way back when, the black and white format. For a single metal energy, it would have the same attack. This guy has Devour for a double colorless energy as a grass type, so it's slightly different, slightly more expensive to get off, but it might be better in the standard format, where it's a little bit slower than expanded. Overall, I like this card a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. Don't know how good it will be, but it definitely deserves a spot on this list. Next up on this list, in spot number 23, we have Phalanx. Phalanx is a fighting type, 110 HP, and is also one of the Rapid Strike Pokemon. For those of you that don't know, Rapid Strike and Single Strike are the two main mechanics behind this set, giving some Pokemon a Rapid Strike tag, some Pokemon a Single Strike tag, and a lot of trainers, abilities, items, stuff like that that interact with those tags. Phalanx over here has the attack Rapid Strike Formation. For a fighting and a colorless, it does 20 damage for each of your Rapid Strike Pokemon in play. It's a pretty good attack. I think it's a very strong finisher. Rapid Strike having access to the double rainbow, double water fighting special energy means this attack can go off for a single energy. With cards like Octillery stuff, it's easy to search out. 120 damage, I would say, maybe 100 for a single energy attachment. As a finisher is really strong. So I think this card has a lot of potential and might see play as like just a little finisher, a little extra bit of chip damage for a single prize that every deck kind of needs nowadays. Next up, in spot number 22, we have Kingdra. Kingdra's a stage 2 with 150 HP water type with a very niche and very cool ability that is kind of deck defining, I think. Its ability, Lord of the Ocean Depths, as translated from Japanese, might be a little bit shorter in English, has the ability, when your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, choose any number of water energy attached to that Pokemon and move it to this Pokemon. So you can think of its ability as kind of like EXP Share and Wishful Baton. They have the same kind of text where your active Pokemon dies, it has a lot of energy on it. The energy gets moved to it, preserving the energy for other attacks that usually, with decks that would run Wishful Baton and EXP Share, would benefit from having more water energy or more energy in play. And it's the same thing with Kingdra, with the attack Water Burst or Aqua Burst that does 40 damage times the number of water energy attached to itself for 1 energy. With a retreat cost of 1, weakness to lightning, no resistance. The card's pretty good. I think it loses a lot of power by needing the water to be attached to it and not just in play. I think it would be a lot better if it was in play and probably a tier 1, definitely not tier 1, probably like a tier 2, tier 3 deck, and also a very fun deck, just by having all that water energy in play, using stuff like Frostmoth to accelerate the energy, and using Kingdra's ability to preserve the energy would be a really cool and pretty fun deck, I think. Having that much energy on one Kingdra is a huge liability, especially if your other Kingdra dies, or you don't have another Kingdra in play, because you can only have 4 of each card, you know. Overall, I think it's a really cool card. I think we'll see some decks come out of it, some just for fun. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. Next up, we have Emboar. Emboar is a stage 2 fighting type or fire type, 180 HP, with a single strike tag, with the ability Fighting Fury Stance. Your single strike Pokemon's attacks deal 30 more damage to your opponent's Pokemon before applying a weakness resistance. So attack, 2 fire, 2 for 2 and 2 colorless for 130. Not very good. You don't play this for its attack at all. 30 extra damage is good. Like I said in a previous video, it already exists in the form of Incineroar. However, this one having the single strike tag means it synergizes with single strike mustard or whatever that card is, where you're able to put a single strike Pokemon from either your deck or your discard, I'm not 100% sure, I remember, into play and draw 5 cards. That's about the only time you'll ever see an Emboar on the field is if it got in play with that supporter. But like I said earlier, 30 damage and that extra chip is matters a lot when you're playing with single strike, because you just want those big hard punches and knockouts. That's how you run your deck. And Emboar is definitely a huge asset to decks like that should they need it. Next on the list, at number 20, we have Single Strike Stance Mustard, the card I was just talking about. This card is a supporter with the single strike tag on it. You can only play this card if it's the last card in your hand. You search your deck for a single strike Pokemon, put it onto your bench, and then draw 5 cards. Very strong. Something to note is you search your deck for the Pokemon, put it onto your bench. I assume you shuffle your deck, and then you draw 5 cards. It's very good. Obviously, it has to be the last card in your hand, but it's not like Archie's or Maxie's where the Pokemon has to be in your discard. You can have it in your deck, meaning you don't need a battle compressor or anything like that Ultra Balled away early game to get it out. Primarily, this will probably be only really used with Emboar, at least out of the cards that we have right now, until they print more, which I assume they're going to keep this mechanic going. But yeah, it's a good card. Emboar is really good. That's probably the only reason I'll ever see play in a single strike deck, so we'll see if it's good enough. I personally don't think it is at the moment. Might be good enough in Expanded where you can get this off a little bit more consistently, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with this card. At number 19, we have a very interesting item card that's kind of a completely new idea, I think. We have Camping Gear, a trainer item card. With text, search your deck for a card, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. When you play this card, your turn ends. So, right off the bat, it's a computer search. It's a computer search for free, with the exception of you don't want to do anything with the expectation that you don't want to do anything that turn. So you play it, you get your card, your turn ends. This card's really probably only good enough for a control list where you don't attack anyways. You'll just end your turn, because decks before would play cards like Steven's Resolve, I think it was called, where you'd search your deck for 3 cards and end your turn. So this card's kind of like a little baby Steven's Resolve for an item. You can still play a supporter for the turn to do something. You play this to end your turn and find maybe a new supporter or an energy or really whatever you need. I think it's good. It'll be good in combo kind of decks and especially control. I think it's definitely a buff to control archetypes. Next up, Tower of Waters, a Rapid Strike Stadium with the simple effect of each Rapid Strike Pokemon in play costs 2 colorless less. It's a very good stadium. Free retreat is important. You don't want to be wasting tool slots with air balloons, stuff like that. You want something either defensive or offensive. You don't really have space or time for slower support style tools. But a stadium card, on the other hand, that is more versatile, affects multiple things, is pretty good. This card directly synergizes with Urshifu, VMAX, single, Rapid Strike. I keep getting them confused. Rapid Strike, where it has a very Golisopod-y effect of you want to switch it and hit for 1 energy. You know, that's how that deck works. You just switch around, attack with different things. This card directly supports that. Good card. We'll definitely see play in that kind of archetype. Next up, we have its counterpart, the Tower of Darkness, a single strike stadium card with an effect similar to Scorched Earth. Once during your turn, you can discard a single strike card from your hand in order to draw 2 cards. If your deck is very single strike heavy, meaning you have a lot of single strike items, supporters, Pokemon, tools, anything really, everything that kind of is single strike-y with that tag, this card's really good. You can get rid of those basics or those extra evolution cards you don't need, trade them for 2 cards. As time has taught us, discarding a card to draw 2 is pretty good. And in a stadium, where you can kind of put it down whenever you want, this card is really good if your deck is single strike heavy. If it's not single strike heavy, and you only run a couple single strike Pokemon here and there, you're not going to want to run this card. This card's really only good if your deck is, say, like 30 to 40+% single strike cards. But overall, it's a good card. Lots of potential. It helps a lot in that specific archetype. And right after that, we have Cherrim, a stage 1 grass type with no tag, so no rapid strike, no single strike tag on it, with an ability we've seen on many different kinds of Pokemon, but with a slight twist. Spring Bloom. As often as you like during your turn, you can attach a grass energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon, except Pokemon with a rule box. Now, Pokemon with a rule box is kind of a new thing. New text tagline they've started using. It references things like EX cards, V cards, anything that has a specific rule to it. So Prism cards have rules, I believe. EXs have the 2 prize rule. Anything like that, that's what this card is referencing. Meaning you can't just power up a Alolan Executor tag team or any grass VX, EX, VMAX, anything like that. You only power up basic Pokemon. What will this be played with? I'm not 100% sure. There is a Tapu Bulu, very similar to the old Tapu Bulu GX, that is in this set, but I don't think they're really good enough. Maybe Maractus. Maybe this is Maractus's time to shine. I'm not sure, but it has very strong attack, very strong ability, a super powerful support ability, very similar to Deluge, very similar to Frostmoth's Ice Dance, Rain Dance, whatever it was called. Good card. Once it gets that supportive attacker, this will be a very strong card. Speaking of very strong grass types, we have Kricketune V, a grass type, 180 HP, which is kind of low for Vs, if you think about it, with an ability similar to a Rangaroos from Sun and Moon base set. Stage Elation. Once during your turn, you can draw cards until you have 3 cards in your hand, but if it's in the active spot, you can draw 4 cards, so an extra card, or draw until you have 4 cards in your hand. You can only use the ability once during your turn, Stage Elation, and it's a V card, so it's a very strong ability on a non-V attacker, or a non-V support Pokemon, but is it good enough on a V? I don't think so. Has a retreat cost of 1, so it's pretty easy to get out of there. It doesn't have a support tag on it, or a tribe tag like Rapid Strike or Single Strike, so you can't use the stadiums on it, or that stadium that reduces Rapid Strike. And its attack is pretty meh. 80 damage, flip a coin, if heads it does 80 more. Will this card be played? I could see it potentially being played, but I don't think it's going to be nearly as impactful as Oranguru was, being a core card in any aggressive list. Seeing as there's no anything that really reduces your hand size too much in this format. I think if the format ever gets there with a lot of aggressive lists, a lot of, single attackers, attack fast kind of stuff, this card will probably see play, kind of like Oricorio does, where when something's knocked out you draw 3. But it's nowhere near as powerful as Oricorio is. Overall, it's just a meh card. It should be draw 4, draw until you have 5. If it's the active, then it would maybe be good enough, but right now I don't think this card is good enough to be played. But it's good enough to be played in like tier 2 kind of decks, not top of the top, Another powerful, unique V card we have here is Empoleon V. 210 HP, Rapid Strike Water Pokemon, with a very unique ability as well. Emperor's Eyes. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent's basic Pokemon in play have no abilities, except for Pokemon with a rule box. So immediately when I see this card, I think Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet's a card from Phantom Forces that when it's in the active spot, your opponent's Pokemon no Pokemon have abilities except for Psychic Pokemon. So it worked with Lele, it worked with Bats. Wobbuffet Bats was a very popular thing back then. This Pokemon, pretty different. The main reason you play cards like Wobbuffet, Silent Lab, anything that shuts down basic abilities is because of those Pokemon rule boxes. Shaman EX, Crobat V, Lele GX, Dedenne GX. Those are all support Pokemon that with abilities you want to stop, because without those abilities, the card does nothing. So it slows your opponent down a lot. Stopping basic Pokemon, except for Pokemon with rule boxes, is really not that good. It really doesn't stop anything. It doesn't stop your Prism Stars. It doesn't stop Vs. It doesn't stop EXs. It doesn't stop GXs. It really doesn't stop anything. And it only stops basic, making it like a lot worse. Because like how many basic Pokemon have impactful abilities in the format right now? There's like none. Especially in Standard. There's like nothing. So yeah, this card is really unique. Really lots of potential. Meaning, I think it's good in the future when they start printing more basics with abilities. But right now, it's really not the greatest. It might see play in some kind of control list. Maybe there'll be like a niche deck that has an ability-centered thing, but its attack's also not bad. Moving energy from it to one of your bench, saving the energy, blah, blah, blah. Cool attack. Unique ability. Rapid Strike is always good, but I think it's not the best right now. Speaking of ignoring effects, we got Phoebe. Phoebe's a supporter. During your turn, or during this turn, your turn, same thing. Damage from your Pokemon VMAX isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. Simply put, your VMAX will hit your opponent's active Pokemon regardless of what happens. Say your opponent has a Zamazenta up in the active, and you're like, oh dang, I can't hit that with my Eternatus VMAX. Well, now you can. You play this, you kill their Zamazenta, you take your 2 prize cards, and you're a happy camper. What can I say? It's a very simple effect, very easy to understand, but a very impactful effect for a supporter, of course. Overall, pretty good card. If there are a lot of cards that have like a safeguard kind of abilities, this card's definitely going to see play in some of them. But right now, okay, we'll see. I think it's good enough to be played right now. And yeah, we'll see where it takes us. Not really much to say about this card, except that it's a very cool card and very powerful. Next on the list, we have Fan of Waves. It's an item. It's a Rapid Strike item with the tag, with the text. In effect, return a special energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon to the bottom of your opponent's deck. Play any number of items, blah, blah, blah. This is very, very similar to Enhanced Hammer. Has the exact same kind of effect, except you don't discard the energy, which is important, but putting the energy in the bottom of your opponent's deck almost guarantees they're not going to draw it next turn. Effectively doing the same kind of thing, slowing them down for a turn, which is what Enhanced Hammer and what Fan of Waves attempts to do. Something important about this card, though, is it has the single strike tag on it, meaning that cards like Octillery can search this out on your turn. You're able to pull it out whenever you want, and it's a tech card, meaning that's exactly kind of how they work. You want that card exactly when you need it. And with a card like Octillery, you'll be able to get that card exactly when you need it. Very good card. I think it'll be played in decks that aren't even don't even run Rapid Strike cards. It's just a good card. It's like Crushing Hammer sees a lot of play right now, and with the amount of special energy we're going to see in the new format, I think this card's definitely going to see a decent amount of play if the current Crushing Hammer, discard your opponent's energy meta continues to run rampant. Kicking our top 10 off, we got Single Strike Energy, the special energy for the Single Strike Tribe tag. This card can only be attached to a Single Strike Pokemon. Well, it is attached to a Single Strike Pokemon. The card provides a Dark and Fighting, but only provides one at a time. So it's Rainbow, but only for Dark and Fighting. So let's say it's attached to a Tyranitar, provides Dark, you probably want, or Fighting if it's on like Urshifu. It's pretty simple to understand. Only one at a time. And attacks from the Pokemon's card is attached to deal 20 more damage. So it's basically strong energy, exclusively for Single Strike Pokemon, but its type changes. Strong energy could only be attached to Fighting, this can only be attached to Single Strike, and say you're running Dark, cool, now you have more damage. However, 20 extra damage, that's a little bit of chip damage like we were talking about earlier. This card is really good in Urshifu, Single Strike VMAX. Bump just with one, it bumps 270 up to 290. Say you have a little bit of damage modifications in the field, right? Boom, that's like 300. Boom, you're one-shotting a VMAX. This card's really good. Yeah, that's all I have to say. It's really, really good in single strike decks. You're obviously going to run this in any single strike deck. An extra 20 damage is nothing to just shove away, right? It's a very good, very relevant attack and very relevant damage. You ever get hit by a massive attack and you're like, wow, I wish I could do that much to my opponent's Pokemon? Well, now you can. With Single Strike Scroll of Scorn, the Single Strike Pokemon this card's attached to does 10 damage plus 10 more damage for each damage counter on it for 1 fighting energy. It's a really good attack. It's Rage. Rage has always been a strong attack on big things, and you're going to want to put this on a big thing. You're going to want to put this on your Urshifu V Max that just survived an attack. Say your opponent's Urshifu V just hits you. You survive with 10 HP. And you're like, haha, not today. You attach that energy. You deal an extra 10 damage on top of the damage they dealt to you. And now they're dead. You win. This is a really strong attack to put on a tool like this that you can just attach to anything. I'm surprised they printed it, to be honest, because Rage has always been a strong attack. It's a lot better than the Rapid Strike one, which I didn't even put in this list. It's garbage. It's not even worth talking about. This one is the one that matters. Very good. Rage is always good. A single energy for almost infinite damage is pretty good. Following that, we have Bronzong, with a very well-known ability type, Metal Transfer, which, like it sounds, transfers a metal energy from one of your Pokemon to another one of your Pokemon as often as you like. It's the same thing as the Fairy guy, it's the same thing as, kind of similar to Quagsire, not exactly the same, but similar. It's basically the same thing as Weavile GX, except for Metal, which hasn't been done before. In Expanded, this card's pretty good. Bronzong is already a thing in the Metal type, though are you able to cut one of your Bronzongs that charge for the one that transfers? I'm not 100% sure. Do you need to? I don't think so. But in Standard, this is pretty good. There are some things that charge up your Metal Pokemon, like Zacian. You don't really need to feel bad about attaching a whole bunch of energy onto it if you use its ability. With Metal Patch, you can attach basically directly to your active Pokemon. And you don't have to move from metal to metal. You can just move a metal energy from anything to anything. So it doesn't have to be played in a metal deck. It just needs to be played in a deck that runs metal energy. It's like Colorless or anything like that. It's a really cool effect. Effects like these almost always find a way to see play, regardless of the current meta and what people think. So I think this card's definitely going to see play. It's also one of the pre-release promos, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I like this card a lot. I always liked Metal. I like Bronzong and Expanded. I might add this as well. We'll see. But good card. Will definitely see play somewhere. I'll mark my words. 100% guarantee this card will see play. The support Pokemon for the Single Strike tag is Houndoom. 130 HP, Dark, Stage 1, with the Single Strike tribe on it. Has the ability Single Strike Roar. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a Single Strike energy card, attach it to one of your Single Strike Pokemon, and shuffle your deck. If you attach an energy this way, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. It's good. Energy acceleration is always good. There's no limit to how many times you can use this during your turn, meaning if you have 2 Houndooms in play, you can search your deck for 2 energy and attach them. It's good. That's an extra 40 damage, an extra 2 energy, as well as your attachment for turn. I mean, that's 3 energy in 1 turn for very powerful, focused, big damage attacks. There's also the other card that kind of synergizes with this one, and that is the Urn of Vitality. Choose up to 2 Single Strike energy cards in your discard pile and shuffle them into your deck. That's the only real reason you would ever play this card, is if you're playing with Houndoom. So the acceleration, there's no real reason to run those cards. Single Strike don't benefit off single attachments, so you kind of have to run Houndoom and the Urn together. So I kind of combine them as a one choice, because they're really useless without each other. Especially if you lose your energy early on, Houndoom doesn't do anything. But if you don't lose your energy early on, and you save your Urns of Vitality, you're going to be charging things up like nothing. Urshifu VMAX powered up in 1 turn. You win the game, you one-shot things left, right, and center. Very good support Pokemon for the Single Strike mechanic. The first of the Urshifu V's, Rapid Strike Urshifu V. Obviously with the Rapid Strike tag, it's a fighting type with 220 HP, with honestly, kinda meh attacks. I understand why it has these attacks, it makes sense. Strafe, you deal 30 damage, you switch it with one of your bench Pokemon. It's a pretty good attack with the fighting style that Urshifu V Rapid Strike V Max, that's a lot of words, does, where you want to switch it from your bench to your active to deal more. So it works, it makes sense. However, it's just not nearly as powerful as the single strike one is. Its other attack, 150 for 3. Decent attack, synergizes with the rapid strike energy. You know, you can attach it really quick, deal 150 pretty early if you need to. But Strafe, it's a meh attack. Obviously, it's the base. It's not supposed to be the strongest one, and it's definitely not the strongest one. The second Urshifu V, Single Strike Urshifu V, a single strike Pokemon with a single strike tag, 220 HP, fighting type, with the attack for 1 energy, a laser focus, search your deck for 2 fighting energy cards, attach it, attach them to this Pokemon, and shuffle your deck. So much better than Strafe. An attack that charges itself up, not for 1, but for 2, for 1 energy, is really powerful on turn 1. If you're going second, you're able to attack. Even going first, attacking on your second turn. That's a very strong attack. It's very likely you're not going to get killed, unless you're up against Zacian and something like that. But still, very unlikely that these energies are going to die on your first turn, regardless of going first or second. Its second attack, Impact Blow, 3 for 180. That's really good. What can I say? Like, 180 for 3 is good. This card is good on its own. It's very similar to Zygarde GX back in the day that had 3 attacks. You know, one would deal 20, one would deal 60 and heal, and the other one would deal 150. This one just does 180, and it can use single strike modifiers. Good attack on turn 1, chonky HP, good secondary attack damage if you're not able to get your VMAX out. This card's pretty good. So it's a good layer 1 for the layer 2 that is the VMAX, right? Right after those 2 bear Pokemon, we got Rapid Strike Energy, the special energy for the Rapid Strike tag at Tribe. Obviously, this can only be attached to a Rapid Strike Pokemon. Well, it is attached to a Rapid Strike Pokemon. It provides water and fighting type, but only one at once. Following those 2 bears, we got Rapid Strike Energy. This is a special energy for the Rapid Strike tag. Obviously, having the Rapid Strike Tribe on it, it provides water and fighting energy, but only provides 2 at a time. When I say only, I make it sound like it's a bad thing. This card's insane. This card is so good. Double colorless energy for a type, like fighting and water, is insanely strong. And it's insanely strong on Urshifu VMAX Rapid Strike, which we'll see here in a bit. It goes well with Empoleon, which we've already seen. You know, you can attach that for 2 water. There you go, Empoleon's attacking. Are you attacking with Empoleon? I don't know why you would, but if you are, this is the card for you. It's very comparable to Single Strike. However, I rated this a lot higher than Single Strike Energy due to, in part, to it's 2 energy for 1 attachment. It's really good. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. It doesn't discard at the end of the turn, kind of like those Magma Aqua ones did back in the day. It's just a really good double colorless energy, except it's not colorless. It's types. It's fighting and water. Good card. Our first VMAX of the day, of the video, is Victini VMAX. This is a fire type VMAX with 310 HP. Evolves from Victini V. There is a new Victini V in the set. It's not nearly as good as the previous one, so I'm not even going to mention it because you'll just use the previous Victini V at least until it's still standard. Has the attack Spreading Flame. Attach 3 fire energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way you like. Does that sound familiar? That's literally Victini V from the previous set. From Sword and Shield base set. On a VMAX. That's why you run the other one. Okay. Its other attack, Victory Max, for a fire and a colorless, does 100 damage, plus 120 if your opponent's active is a Pokemon V. Meaning this will one-shot any, I think it will one-shot every V, base V in the game for 2 energy. Very strong. Will it one-shot VMAXs? No. Unless you have weakness, it won't one-shot VMAXs. But very few VMAXs do one-shot each other. The only one I can really think of is going to be Single Strike, but that's with a lot of modifiers. Victini VMAX one-shots almost everything that isn't a VMAX for 2 energy. Really good card. Doesn't even need Welder to get going. Spreading Flame, attaching for turn is good enough for this card. It's really good. Good enough to be played on its own without support? Probably. I think this card's good. This is a very strong VMAX. Number 3 on our list, we have Octillery with the Rapid Strike tag. Octillery has a very, very powerful ability. Rapid Strike Search. Once during your turn, search your deck for a card, a Rapid Strike card, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. You can't use this ability more than once per turn. Or you can't use the same ability with the same name, Rapid Strike Search, more than once. Is that limiting this card in power? No, definitely not. You're very rarely ever going to even have 2 Octilleries on your bench, let alone 1, if your opponent lets you keep it alive. Octillery lets you search out those energies, it lets you search out Ursharifus, it lets you search out Remoraid's, the Stadium, the Tool, a supporter card that has Rapid Strike on it. It lets you search whatever you want. It's a computer search basically every turn. It's really, really good. In Expanded, you compare this Octillery with the other one, the one that draws you up to 5 cards during your turn, because they both fall from Remoraid. Remoraid has the Rapid Strike tag as well, so that can also be searched with Octillery to kind of set up the other one. You can play Brooklet Hill in Expanded to search out the Remoraids and the Ursharifus. They just synergize so well together. Brooklet Hill was kind of just made for the Rapid Strike archetype, and Octillery makes me really excited for this archetype in Expanded, because I think Brooklet Hill is really powerful in this deck, with Rapid Strike Search, searching energy, Pokemon, whatever you really need. Very deserves to be on this list, deserves to be so high up on this list, I think. Just for the sheer power and potential and threat that this card possesses. Coming in at number 2, it's the one, the only, Single Strike Ursharifu VMAX. One of 2 Ursharifu VMAXs in the set. The Single Strike one, with the Single Strike tag, fighting type with 330 HP. For 3 energy, beat down 100. Meh. That card really doesn't, that attack does not matter. It might matter against, lower prize decks, so it's good to have, but that's not why you want this card. You want this card for its G-Max 1-blow attack. For 3 fighting and 1 colorless, this Pokemon does 270 base damage. With the effect, discard all energy from this Pokemon. This damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. Meaning, they have Protect, they have some kind of Safeguard ability, they did something that protects them from an attack or makes them immune or something. No, this card is getting through that. Much like Urshifu in the video game, it punches right through Protect. That's what this guy does. 1 punch, boom, you're done. And that's what he does. 270, with all the modifiers you get, it's really, really good. 270 with 1 energy, 1 rapid strike, or 270 with 1 single strike energy, bumps it up to 290. You got another one on there? Boom. 310, math is hard. You got, say, a Stadium in play, or you got a Tool that buffs its attack by itsy bitsy numbers. It doesn't take much to get this Pokemon to hit 330, 340. You could even run Leon, the supporter that buffs your attacks by 30. There's really just, you just want to stack buffs on this guy, get that one shot, take maybe a turn or 2 to recharge one up, assuming this one dies, play some dolls or something to kind of stall them out while you charge another G-Max 1-blow up, and then boom, hit him right back, and win the game with 2 attacks. I think it's really good. It can even be paired with ADP. It's disgusting to say, but with the ADP damage boost and prizes, becomes a pretty solid threat. You know, this guy's pretty scary. Second place on the list goes to him, easily. If Single Strike Urshifu VMAX was number 2, that only leaves Rapid Strike to be number 1. I chose Rapid Strike. Urshifu VMAX has the same ability, or same attack, different tag. Obviously, it's Rapid Strike, not Single Strike. Okay, that was a dumb intro. If Single Strike Urshifu was number 2, that only leaves Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX to be number 1. 330 HP, fighting type, similar to Single Strike, except with the exception of, obviously, it has the Rapid Strike tag, not the Single Strike tag, with the attack Gale Thrust. For a single fighting energy, it does 30 damage, and if it's switched from your bench to the active spot, it does 120 more damage. So for 1 energy, you're dealing 150 damage. That's a lot. It's first thing that comes to mind is this is like Golisopod GX back in the day. That saw tons of play. It was such a good card. It even saw play in Expanded. Without really many modifiers. It did 120, I believe. Choice Band did 150. This guy, 150 base. You can put a band on it, make it deal a little bit more. You can put a defensive item on it. 150 is a really good number, especially paired with its second attack, G-Max Rapid Flow. For 2 energy, 2 fighting, and 1 colorless, G-Max Rapid Flow discards all energy from this Pokemon and does 120 damage to 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Or 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, doesn't even need to be benched. Dealing 120 to 2 things is significantly better than dealing it to 1. It's a lot harder for an opponent to heal 2 Pokemon than it is for them to heal 1. So you put it on 2 Pokemon, you know, say, hey, heal one of those, because the other one is definitely going to die. Or maybe they'll ignore it, go for a kill. So you swing 150, 1 turn, you attach your double energy on it. Since you discard all energy, it doesn't really matter. You attach your double energy, your double Rapid Strike energy, you hit 2 other things for 120, probably finishing something off and setting something else up for death. When paired with Octillery, super good. Enables that consistency of you always hitting your draws, and really just flows really well together. I definitely think this is the best card in the set. Very close with all the VMAXs. All have very similar power levels and lots of potential to be very strong decks. But I gotta give it to Rapid Strike Urshifu, mostly because I love Golisopod. I'm gonna be playing this day 1 like Golisopod, and I'm gonna be playing it Expanded as well with strong energy to get that extra damage modifier, DNC, stuff like that. So those are my picks. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think? I want to know. Tweet at me. Come check out my Twitch stream and yell at me. Tell me how stupid I am or how much you agree with me. I want to know what you guys think, because to me, these seem like the most powerful cards of this set. If you have anything to say, if you liked the video, don't forget to like. If you want to subscribe and see more, I really appreciate it. Every time I see that subscriber count go up, I feel like I did a good job. But yeah, thanks for watching, you guys, and I'll hopefully see you guys either online or in another video. Goodbye.